Hello. It's been a moment. I took a pause for a very good reason. I thought about all of the families in which my recordings were affecting. And with thinking about the recordings in which all the families could have been affected, um, it took me back to when I was a kid. I remember being a child and, somebody for whatever reason hit me, I was quick to, do what my brother would say, give him a knuckle sandwich. And so, but when I would, give that knuckle sandwich, so to speak, I didn't think about what the mother back at home would feel like once their child came home and, shared that, they had been hit, although they passed the first lick. I didn't think about what that father would feel like when he realized his child had a black eye. I didn't think about what the sibling must have felt like when, they realized that their sibling, you know, had been hurt, although their sibling was the one who initiated the first action. And I didn't think about what that family must have went through when they had to walk in public alongside of that child um, with the black eye. All I knew is that I was wronged. And when that child put their hands on me, I reacted. 1 Corinthians 13:11 says, when I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways. I say this to say, I want to take a moment before I continue on with my videos and apologize to the family of the officers involved in this, the families of the, prosecuting attorney that's involved in this, because their family members are not directly responsible for the actions of their representing member that's out supposed to be representing the law, if that makes any sense. So let's say for Sheriff Roberts, his wife, his children, they're not responsible for his actions. Jeff Rogers, his wife, his children are not responsible for his actions. And any other members of law enforcement that have played a role in everything that's going on here and everything that we're seeing in the community as far as the injustice. And because I know that their loved ones, their children and their wives, or spouses are being affected by it, I want to say to them, that I apologize that you are going through this. I apologize to you even on the behalf of your family member that's misrepresenting your family as a whole. I apologize to you that you're going through this, because I have thought about you guys. I have prayed about you guys as well, because I know it must be hard on you to have to go through this. And so with that being said, I want to say that while I'm praying for you, that you pray for me too, please. And in regards to, me moving forward and continuing to share the videos, I know you may not understand it, but it's something that needs to be done, because it is what's going on in the community, and the community do have the right to know. In the Bible, it says in Ephesians 5:11, take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. So if you cannot respect what I'm doing in regards to the community, If you're Christians, if you go to church, if you pray with your family, then look in the Bible and respect the words that are in the Bible. Respect and understand that, yes, it's supposed to be shared. They are supposed to be exposed. They are making decisions about people's lives in the community, and they are taking advantage of our community. They're tearing our community up with their destructive behavior, and that's not okay. And as much as I, apologize to their loved ones, I have to say that we have loved ones too, and we love our family too. And just as you don't want your family to be wronged, we don't want our families to be wronged neither. And so in order to show that this is what's happening in the communities, things like this have to be exposed. And so to the family members of the police department, of the members who have decided to take the wrong side of things or make the wrong decisions in the blue and black uniforms, as well as the prosecuting attorneys that are also following along with this darkness and this wrongness, to your family, I apologize that they have to see your wrong come across the TV screen or the computers. Every day we're given the opportunity to do right. Every day when we go to sleep and we wake up, that's another opportunity to turn around and make a different decision, to stop doing the things that you're doing that are corrupting, that are corrupt inside the community. And that's a decision that you're not making to do. I don't know why I found myself March 11th in the middle of all of this. But I do know that I did not intentionally start recording conversations that I was having with you guys. I already had a recorder on my phone, and the Lord allowed things to happen for a reason. That recorder was on my phone way before my brother was ever thought to be killed. And see, the difference is you are a service provider of the law, of the city, the state, and everything that you do is supposed to be right. It's supposed to be fair. You have recording mechanisms on your phone, just as I do. And when you record our conversations that are coming in and out of your institution or in and out of your police station or in and out of the prosecuting attorney's office, you're doing it so that hopefully you're able to what? Use it when need be. So that you can follow through with it, right? Or, some people say for training purposes. I never thought that I would be having to use my recorder for this purpose. I never thought that when I picked up the phone to call you in regards to my brother, that I would be showed who you really are behind the mask and the uniform. But now that I am able to share this with the community and understand their cry when they share it with me, that there's no justice here. That every day people in this community is mistreated. We have to move forward. But I did want to take the time, and I did want to let your family members and your friends know that I have thought about them, I have prayed about them, and I wanted to say to them directly that I do apologize for what you're going through. But the thing about injustice, when injustice takes place and people allow it to take place, it just keeps happening. It just keeps going and going and going. As long as people turn away and walk away, it just continues to eat up the community. It just continues to take lives. It just continues to imprison people and lock people behind bars, not because they're fully doing something wrong, because people just have is it wrong for me to say a power trip? because you're on a power trip, because you're in a position that you shouldn't even be in the first place. If you don't have a love for the people, then how can you serve the people? You have to first appreciate the people, not some of the people, but all of the people. Or how can you be a true leader in a community? So with that said, now that I've gotten my apology out of the way, we will keep forward. We will move forward. And I will continue to share the videos. And I pray that, like I said, that you pray for me like I pray for you. But just as you guys are going through, our families have to go through too. Just like the mother, the Facebook mother, being taken away from her daughter. Not that someone was actually hurt. Not that someone, was actually threatened. And we're talking about, we know of someone, and I read Mr. Luckman, Lieutenant Luckman, I think that was his name, shared that, we have to verify when it comes to Facebook. Well, the wonderful young lady got on Facebook and said that she did hit my brother. And there was a body. Verify. There was a body. She spent how many days in jail? But it was verified. She had drugs in her system. It was verified. How many days in jail? But because someone repeated something that they had heard and acted out of concern for the families in their community and posted, sending out an alarm to check on your loved ones, you arrested her. There was no threat. Nobody had had any bodily harm. Nobody was killed. You arrested that woman. You robbed her of time with her child and her family. What is wrong with your system? You tested a woman for yourself and found drugs in her system. You stood over the body of a dead man that she had killed. She hit him and she left him there for dead. You stood over his body. But you didn't arrest him. What is wrong with your system? In a city not too far from your system, from El Dorado, you worked on another case identical to that case. And I don't know how you managed to discriminate. The age was so closely related. The only difference was the race. But I'm just going to say on one day you was having a better day than the next day, right? But you managed to put one woman behind bars immediately because she had drugs in her system. Well, the other one, Ashley Woosley Wine, she had drugs in her system too. You confirmed that. Well, she hit a woman. Maybe you were sexist. Maybe, okay, well, one hit a woman, one hit a man. Isn't that still discriminating? What is wrong with your system? You put her in front of a judge. You sentence her. The her that I'm talking about is Miss Joycelyn Davis, I believe her name was. Let's see. Over in Calhoun, Evans, Joycelyn Evans. She served time in jail. hit and run, drugs in her system, killed a pedestrian. I imagine you somehow had to come in contact with that body, and she went before a judge, several violations against her. She was an African American woman. She killed a white woman. But Ashley Woolsey, in her 20s, just as Miss Joycelyn, Miss Evans, drugs in her body. She hit a black man. Not only did she hit him, she left the scene, left him dying on the ground. Not a day in jail. She didn't even go to trial. But Miss Facebook Mom, over a threat that she heard. Don't get me wrong, we love our babies. I am such a big advocate for kids, families, people in general. And you're right. That's a major no-no. You got to get that stuff right. I get that. But nobody was hurt. There wasn't a real threat. Let's see. How about Miss Hall, why don't you on such and such day come up to the school, and all the parents that actually felt threatened, you know, all the ones that raced up to the school to pull their children out of school that day because they were afraid that their lives were in danger, you know, have all those parents to come up to the school, you know, for an assembly. You know, all the ones that, you know, blew your phones up at Barton, you know, just blew it up. Phones ringing off the hook. All these worried and concerned parents. You know, invite all those wonderful parents to the assembly too. And then all of the officers who had to come to Barton and do a wellness check to make sure those babies are okay, to make sure the faculty members are okay, because that's what you should have did anyway, you know? You were getting paid for it. But, you know, if you somehow seen that to be an inconvenience, then have all of them come to the school too for an assembly, because Miss Hall, on such and such day, you're going to have to go in front of the school, in front of those faculty members and friends and those wonderful children, as well as those officers who was on duty that day, who had to drive over to Barton and do a wellness check over the whole school, and you're going to have to apologize. And then after your apology, we're going to have to maybe have you to go down to the school district and figure out how you can actually participate in the community and do some type of volunteer work at the school around the loving family members and children whom you upset that day. That's, of course, if it even got that far, 8:15, right, in the morning? Has school even started? Had the bell even rung? What's wrong with the system? What's really wrong with the system? Do her babies not deserve to be taken in consideration? Their needs? Do her family, do they not deserve to be taken in consideration? It's one thing to serve the law, but to come on, to abuse it? These are people we're talking about. These are people's lives we're talking about. This is not okay. Laws were put in place for a reason. As small of a community as El Dorado, there should be a little bit more closeness there. There should be a little bit more respect, not only for the people, but for the law. But when the law starts to disrespect everybody in the community, then there has to be some concern, and there has to be someone to say, okay, this is not okay. We live here too. We exist here too. So somebody needs to stand up and say something. There's a difference in being respected as law enforcement and being feared. And I guarantee you, the good guys would rather be respected any day than feared. There's nothing healthy about a community that fears the very services that are supposed to be protecting them. This is the reason you have so many people that's taking the law in their own hands. And then let me just touch on this. You say, okay, why would you do something like this? Why would I do something like this? This is the reason I would do something like this. Because when you have people that are going up against the black and blue because of fear, not because they disrespect you, it's because of fear, then this is the reason you should do something like this, because they need to understand, why is there fear in the community? Why do people feel like they have to defend themselves in the community? Because law enforcement is not acting right in the community. And so in order to make that connection, in order to go back and redo things the correct way, so that law enforcement, the good guys, can take their rightful place, and the people in the community can sit back and enjoy and appreciate being a part of a healthy community, of a healthy environment, this is not healthy. When you feel like, okay, you have to turn the other direction because you see a police car, versus being able to hold your hand up and wave and speak, there's something wrong with that. When you feel like, you can't even sit outside because you see cars, police cars patrolling, and at any minute fear that they would jump out of their vehicle and put their hands on you, and you're not even doing anything, that's a problem. I remember a time you see a police officer, you can go up and speak to him, talk to him, stand next to the car. If your children were with you and can you just talk to them? They just want to see you. They were excited. Kids were excited about police officers. They were heroes. Heroes. But now you have some villains in disguise. Now you have people that are masked as police officers, and they have their own agenda. And the good guys are taking a rap for it. This is the reason why you have to say what you're going through. This is the reason why you have to talk about what's going on in the community, so that hopefully you can find a way to get back to the good in the community. So hopefully you can find a way to heal what's broken and take away the imprisonment that's in the community. If you have people in El Dorado that are in their own homes, or anywhere, they're sitting in their own homes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or just going straight to work and straight home because it's not safe to be on the streets, that's not a healthy community. If you know as an officer that you cannot go and speak to someone without them feeling threatened, that's not a healthy community. If you know that if you pulled up in a parking lot next to someone and you can tell that you have made them feel some type of way, that's not a healthy community. Start praying for your community. Even as a police officer, pray for your community. If you're one of the good guys, I know you can get a prayer through too. Pray for your community. And if you don't know what's going on in your community, Mr. Good Officer, Mr. Good Attorney, Mrs. or Mrs. Good Prosecuting Attorney, Mr. or Mrs. State, Mr. or Mrs. Good City, then keep listening. I'm going to share with you what I know and give you a glance of what your community is doing behind your back. The reason everybody in your community is so upset. Be blessed.